6 Delaware Correctional Center inmates helped renovate 6 low-income houses in Wilmington, and this was part of a prison fellowship program. You're going to learn about prison fellowship from Marty Thresher-Burns, who joins us, along with Commissioner John L. Sullivan, Commissioner of our prison system here in Delaware. Welcome both to Falcus, Delaware.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Now, Commissioner Sullivan, you have an interesting background. You've been with our prison system for the last few years, but prior to that you served at various functions serving our state since 1971, and before that a 27-year stint with the military. Did I get that correct?
That's about right.
Okay. Well, we'll get into that a little bit more. But I want to talk to Marty. You head the Delaware, Maryland Regional District for Prison Fellowship. Is that correct, Marty? Mm-hmm. Tell us about this program.
Prison Fellowship is a group of Christians who are motivated by their love for the Lord Jesus Christ and in obedience to the commands come together to promote biblical standards of justice. And this particular program in Wilmington that took place between October 14th and 28th involved the demonstrated to the community that there are alternative punishments for prisoners in
Well, there are many different alternative dispositional modes here in Delaware, and you've presented another one for the state to experiment with.
That's correct.
And as I understand it, various church groups helped house and feed these 6 prisoners who were involved in a program who did renovations for low-income houses.
Yes, that's correct. The project involved 6 furloughed inmates from the Delaware Department of Correction,
yes,
who lived within the homes of 6 church families in the Wilmington area. Mm-hmm. And the churches not only housed the inmates for that period of time, but they also provided food. And then during the day, the men were involved in winterizing and renovating homes for the needy in the Wilmington area.
Okay, now the great thing about it is, and there was no cost for the housing and for the entertainment and recreation and feeding of these people. The cost involved, how much seed money was involved?
Prison Fellowship gave $2,500 to see that the program started, and then there were private donations that came in during the project and for costs such as the storm screens and winterizing.
But the money basically went for the costs of the equipment and for the houses itself, the screens and the windows and the doors and so forth.
Yes, we like to see it as a volunteer project involving members of the community and local churches who come together in a very unusual way.
Okay, you've helped 6 prisoners in terms of their rehabilitation process. Let me ask Commissioner Sullivan how he feels the program was in terms of its success.
Well, Bob, you have to recognize that this was one facet of a large number of alternatives that we've worked with in our system for the last several years, last 4.5, 5 years. We've had an ever-expanding community service effort in the prison system. Some with some success, and occasionally we have some problems with those placements. I would say to you that the real benefit of what's happened with this prison fellowship effort is that there's a larger community of interest and understanding now among the Christians in at least the Wilmington area that there are people in our institutions who can be amenable to restitution and some other retribution rather than prison life itself, that there are other alternatives to prisons for some of our inmates. Mm-hmm. And I think it's another opportunity for a demonstration that the theory that there are problems that can be reconciled with rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You're alluding to, of course, occasionally there'll be a bad apple in every barrel, and one rehabilitation person may fly the coop, and that makes bad press. And that, of course, is what we read about. We don't read about all the success stories that rehabilitation, alternative sentencing modes work.
We're talking about, in this program, which I supported fully, we're talking about 6 inmates living with 6 families and a large community of a number of churches recognizing and being involved in some way or another over the period of 2 weeks. And so there is a larger community of understanding that you can deal with these people in a different way than just incarcerating them. And that's, from my viewpoint, as the head of the prison system, the benefit of the program, that there is a larger understanding and recognition that there are other alternatives to incarceration.
Okay, back to my original question. Did you consider the the program with the 6 prisoners involved to be a success?
Oh, certainly. Certainly. The success comes from the fact that even if one of those young men, while they were out there, had created some kind of an episode, there would have at least been a larger awareness and understanding that everything was done that could have been done to make sure that we tried to run the program on a proper basis. But, you know, we've had literally thousands of people out on early release programs in our prison system for the last 5 years, and 1 or 2 of those people have caused problems, and those people get the notoriety.
Well, the media does make better story headlines for the media, I would say.
I won't condemn the media entirely, Bob, but you might be right.
You're right. Now, Marty, this program, is it international or national in scope?
Prison Fellowship has offices in 14 foreign countries and 44 states in the
You know,
United
you're in charge of Delaware and Maryland.
Right.
And you're the executive director for this area. It's a funded position.
Yes.
But the rest of the people that work in the program are volunteers?
Right. There are about 17,000 volunteers involved with the work of Prison Fellowship across the country.
Can people make contributions? Obviously, you want contributions, and how would people go about doing that?
Well, they could contact us in our state office for both Maryland and Delaware, which is in Timonium, Maryland, and they could write to us at 303 West Timonium Road, Timonium, Maryland.
Timonium. Give that address again.
303 West Timonium Road in Timonium, Maryland, 21093.
Okay. Now, Marty, you've had 6 prisoners participate in this program. Is that the end of it? Do you want to see more for Commissioner Sullivan and his people at the prisons to work with?
Well, over the next couple of weeks, we'll be assessing and evaluating how the program went. We very much would like to see the program continue, and it's very much along the lines of what the Sentencing Reform Commission and Accountability Commission has been working on in the legislature. And we want to continue to promote and educate the community about what the project is all about and how people can become involved.
Does that mean we're going to see more prisoners involved?
I'm optimistic at this point, Bob. I hesitate to say that we will see 2 projects in 1985, but I think at this point we're 99% sure that we're going to continue on the same wavelength, so to speak.
And you spoke about there were 2 commissions you spoke about. Commissioner, could you explain this to...
Well, first of all, you might recall that Governor DuPont established 3.5 years ago a Sentence Reform Committee. It was chaired, it was actually the convener was Dave Swayze, a former executive assistant to the governor. That was, the participants were from all walks of life, a great number from criminal justice agencies, but from the private sector as well. That group made numbers of interim recommendations and finalized their work in last June with a new statute which established a Sentence Accountability Commission, which is a group of 11 people appointed by the governor and with some representation from appointees of the legislature and the judicial system. And their responsibilities now are to look at accountability schemes for sentence alternatives from the low end of the scale of probation all the way through to maximum incarceration, and to find other alternatives in between the 2 extremes.
Okay. Well, as I see things now, this is one fine alternative in a vast array of alternatives that are now part of our prison system. Marty, I want to thank you for being on the show, and Commissioner Sullivan, I want to thank you too for joining us, but I want to extend an invitation to you to come back, because we've just scratched the surface on the scope of your sentencing programs, and we'd like to get into it in more depth at another time. Would you join us again?
Be happy to, Bob.
Very good. I'm glad to hear that. Marty, again, thanks you.
Sure.
It's been Marty Thresher-Burns and Commissioner John L. Sullivan. And when we return, Peggy will be learning a little bit about our Wilmington JC Christmas Parade from Larry Green. Please stay with us.